Failure. It's a word that we all fear. It's a word that echoes in our minds when we fall short, when we miss the mark, when we believe we've reached the end of the road. But let me tell you something, failure is not the end. No, my friends. Failure is not an obstacle. It's a lesson. A hard, painful, humbling lesson, but a lesson nonetheless. You see, we all face it. At some point we all stumble. We all experience that gut-wrenching feeling of falling short of our dreams, our expectations, or others' expectations. But the truth is, failure is part of the journey. It's not a stop sign. It's a stepping stone. I know what you're thinking. Morgan, it's easy for you to say that. You've had success. You've been there, and yes, I've had my share of triumphs. But I've also had my share of failures. I've failed in ways you can't even imagine. I've had doors slammed in my face, been told that I wasn't good enough, that I wouldn't make it. But each time I rose again, because I understood something very important. You see, failure doesn't define you. It doesn't break you unless you let it. What failure does is show you where you need to grow. It shows you where you need to improve, where you need to work harder, where you need to look at things differently. Failure teaches you resilience. It teaches you patience. And above all, it teaches you humility. There's a quote I've always believed in: it's not how many times you get knocked down that counts. It's how many times you get back up, and that, my friends, is the key. The key is not to avoid failure, but to embrace it, learn from it, and keep moving forward. Because as long as you're breathing, as long as you have the will to keep going, you haven't truly failed. Look at the greats. Look at those who have achieved greatness in their lives. You'll find that every one of them has a story of failure. They fell, they failed, but they didn't let it define them. They let it fuel them. They used it as a catalyst for growth, for change, for progress. Failure is an inevitable part of life, and for many it can be one of the most daunting experiences. We live in a society that often emphasizes success, achievement, and perfection, making failure feel like a personal defeat. However, the reality is that failure is not only natural, it is essential to personal growth and success. Every person, regardless of their achievements or status, has encountered failure at some point. The key is to reframe our understanding of failure and recognize it as an integral component of our journey, not something to be feared or avoided. When we face failure, it often feels like the end of the road. It's easy to become discouraged and overwhelmed by the emotions that accompany it: frustration, self-doubt, and even embarrassment. But these feelings are part of the process.
The most successful people in the world, whether in business, sports, or the arts, have faced repeated failures before reaching their goals. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is how they respond to those failures.
They understand that failure doesn't define them. It's simply a part of the journey. If we take a step back and examine failure through a more objective lens, we can see that it's not the failure itself that matters, but how we interpret and use it. Failure provides us with valuable feedback. It forces us to assess what went wrong, why it happened, and what we can do differently next time. It's a process of trial and error, an essential part of learning. In fact, without failure, we would never develop the skills, resilience, or wisdom necessary to achieve greatness. Success doesn't happen without setbacks, and failure is the testing ground where our true potential is revealed. It's important to understand that failure is not a reflection of our worth or abilities. Just because something didn't work out doesn't mean we're incapable or inadequate. Rather, failure is an opportunity to grow, learn, and refine our approach. It is a challenge that pushes us to expand our limits, try new strategies, and become more adaptable. When we embrace failure as a part of life, We free ourselves from the fear of making mistakes, which ultimately leads to greater creativity, innovation, and success. By accepting failure as a natural and necessary experience, we begin to shift our mindset from one of fear to one of opportunity. Instead of avoiding challenges or giving up when things don't go as planned, we begin to see failure as a stepping stone on the path to something greater. Failure, after all, is not the end, it is merely the beginning of something new. Failure, while often painful, is one of the greatest teachers we can encounter. It provides lessons that success simply cannot. When we succeed, everything feels easy, and we may not fully understand what it took to get there. But when we fail, we're forced to look inward, reassess, and identify where things went wrong. It is in these moments of failure that we gain the most valuable insights into our abilities, our weaknesses, and our strategies. We are given the opportunity to reflect and grow in ways that would be impossible if everything always went according to plan. The lessons learned from failure are not always immediately clear, but over time they reveal themselves in ways that shape us into more capable and resilient individuals. Failure forces us to be honest with ourselves. It encourages us to confront our mistakes, to admit when we don't have all the answers, and to acknowledge our limitations. This self-awareness is essential for growth. We become better problem solvers, more open to feedback, and more willing to experiment. Each failure presents a chance to refine our approach, adjust our strategies, and learn from what we missed the first time around. Failure teaches us perseverance. It builds resilience by showing us that setbacks don't have to be permanent. Rather than seeing failure as a roadblock, we begin to recognize it as an opportunity to adjust, adapt, and try again. Every failure gives us new tools to face future challenges with a deeper understanding of what works and what doesn't. The ability to get back up after falling down is perhaps the most important lesson failure offers. In the process of overcoming failure, we develop patience. We come to understand that success is an instant, and that every step forward, no matter how small, is worth celebrating. This patience allows us to see progress where others might see only setbacks. It helps us embrace the slow and steady path toward mastery, knowing that every failure is just another lesson in the long road to success. Failure teaches us that we are not defined by our setbacks, but by our ability to learn, adapt, and keep going. It transforms us into lifelong learners, individuals who don't shy away from mistakes, but instead use them as stepping stones towards something greater. Resilience is one of the most powerful qualities we can develop in the face of failure. It's the ability to bounce back, to rise after we've been knocked down, and to continue moving forward despite adversity. Failure can feel like a heavy blow, leaving us questioning our abilities and our path. But resilience is what enables us to keep going, to see beyond the setback, and to realize that the journey isn't over just because we've encountered a challenge. It's the refusal to let failure define us or dictate our future. At the core of resilience is the understanding that failure is temporary. The pain, the frustration, and the disappointment are often immediate, but they are not permanent. Resilience allows us to accept that these feelings are part of the process and that we can move through them. Rather than letting failure consume us, resilient individuals use it as fuel. They don't see it as a final destination, but as an obstacle to overcome on the way to something greater. In many ways, failure sharpens our resilience. The more we face challenges and get back up, the stronger we become, not just in our abilities, but in our mindset. Resilience is not about avoiding failure or pretending that it doesn't hurt when things go wrong. It's about how we respond to those moments. Do we allow failure to defeat us, or do we use it as an opportunity to grow and try again? Resilience is about taking the lessons from failure, adjusting our approach, and continuing to move forward. The greatest successes often come after the most significant setbacks, because it is in those moments that we learn how to adapt, how to persevere, and how to thrive despite the odds. One of the key components of resilience is the ability to maintain a sense of hope and purpose, even in difficult times. When things don't go as planned, it can be easy to lose sight of our goals or question whether they are even worth pursuing. But resilient people keep their vision intact, even when faced with challenges. They trust that their efforts will eventually pay off, and they believe that failure is simply a detour, not a dead end. Resilience is about more than just bouncing back from failure. It's about building the strength to keep moving forward no matter how many times we fall. It's the quiet determination to rise again, to learn from our mistakes, and to continue pursuing our dreams with a renewed sense of purpose. Resilience doesn't just help us overcome failure, it helps us turn failure into a stepping stone towards success. Perseverance is the key ingredient that transforms failure into success. It's easy to give up when things don't go as planned or when obstacles seem insurmountable. But those who persevere understand that success rarely comes in one perfect, straight line. The path to achievement is often winding and filled with setbacks. It's the ability to persist, even when progress seems slow or when you feel like giving up, that separates those who succeed from those who fall short. Perseverance is about pushing through difficulty and continuing to move forward, no matter how challenging the journey may be. The importance of perseverance becomes clear when we look at any significant achievement or breakthrough. Every success story is filled with moments of failure, uncertainty, and struggle. The difference is that those who achieve their goals are the ones who refuse to quit. It's not always about talent or intelligence, but about the willingness to keep going, even when things seem impossible. The person who perseveres doesn't see failure as a sign to stop. Instead, they view it as part of the process, a necessary step in the path to success. Perseverance requires patience and commitment. When things don't work out immediately, it's easy to feel frustrated. But true perseverance is about trusting that your efforts will eventually lead to something meaningful. It's understanding that success is not always immediate, and that the road to reaching your goals is often longer than you expect. Those who persevere know that the small steps they take, even in the face of failure, are building towards something larger. Each effort, each attempt, brings them closer to their destination, even if it doesn't feel like it at the time. When we persist through failure, we not only improve our chances of success, but also become stronger, more resilient individuals. Perseverance builds character, teaching us to handle adversity and remain focused on our objectives, regardless of the challenges we face. It helps us develop a mindset that refuses to be swayed by setbacks and continues to push forward, one step at a time. Perseverance is about maintaining belief in the possibility of success, even when the odds are against you. It's about showing up every day, putting in the work, and not letting failure or difficulty stop you from reaching your goal. With perseverance, we can overcome almost any challenge and turn even the greatest failures into stepping stones on the road to success. When we face failure, it's easy to become disheartened and view it as a dead end. But a shift in perspective can help us see failure as progress rather than a setback. While it might feel like a setback in the moment, each failure actually moves us closer to our goals by revealing what doesn't work, and in doing so teaching us what we need to improve. If we view failure through this lens, we begin to see it as an essential part of the journey, not an obstacle to be avoided. Failure isn't the end, it's a sign that we're actively trying, testing boundaries, and moving forward. Each time we fail, we are given valuable feedback. We learn what to do differently the next time, what strategies to avoid, and what approaches might yield better results. This iterative process, where we learn from each attempt and refine our methods, is how progress is made. In essence, failure helps us eliminate the wrong paths, bringing us closer to the right one. Without failure, there would be no way to distinguish between what works and what doesn't. Every mistake we make is an opportunity to adjust and adapt. So even in moments of failure, we are progressing, honing our skills, and inching toward eventual success. The concept of progress through failure is evident in many of the world's greatest success stories. Take inventors like Thomas Edison, for example. He famously failed thousands of times before perfecting the light bulb, yet he viewed each failure as a step toward discovery. He didn't see his experiments as failures, but as necessary parts of the process. When we adopt a similar mindset, we begin to see each failure as part of a bigger picture, a process that leads to learning and eventual success. Failure helps us build resilience and adaptability. With each failure, we learn how to bounce back stronger. We develop the mental toughness to keep going despite the setbacks and refine our approach to the task at hand. This resilience becomes an invaluable asset in the pursuit of any goal. In the end, the lessons failure offers are not temporary, they are permanent tools for growth. By rethinking failure as progress, we remove the fear of it and embrace it as an essential part of reaching our potential. Failure is often seen as a negative experience, a moment of defeat that we wish to avoid. However, the reality is that while failure may feel like a temporary setback, the growth and strength we gain from overcoming it are lasting. It's easy to get caught up in the disappointment of not achieving our goals, but the truth is that failure does not have the power to define us unless we allow it. It is a brief moment in time, but the personal growth and resilience we develop through the process stay with us for much longer. The lessons learned during a time of failure shape us into stronger, more adaptable individuals, capable of handling future challenges with greater wisdom and confidence. One of the most significant aspects of overcoming failure is the growth it fosters. When we face failure head-on, we are forced to dig deeper, to push beyond our comfort zones, and to learn new ways of thinking and doing. Failure pushes us to reconsider our strategies, to adapt, and to find creative solutions. We often discover new strengths and abilities in the process, building a deeper sense of self-confidence. This growth becomes permanent because the lessons learned in those difficult moments remain ingrained in us, long after the failure itself has passed. Failure builds resilience, a quality that becomes increasingly valuable as we face more obstacles throughout life. Resilience is the ability to recover from setbacks and to continue moving forward despite adversity. When we overcome failure, we learn how to manage disappointment, how to persevere, and how to turn negative experiences into opportunities for improvement. Each time we face failure and rise from it, we reinforce our inner strength and develop a mindset that refuses to be defeated by challenges. This resilience doesn't disappear, it stays with us, providing the foundation for future success. Failure is a temporary experience, but the growth and resilience we develop from it are permanent. The skills we acquire, the wisdom we gain, and the strength we build through failure become integral parts of who we are. By reframing failure as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block, we can embrace it with the understanding that, while it may be temporary, the benefits it brings will last a lifetime. Failure is not something to fear or avoid, it is an essential part of our journey toward growth and success. Each failure teaches us valuable lessons, strengthens our resilience, and brings us closer to becoming the individuals we are meant to be. It is a natural, temporary experience that leads to lasting growth, and by embracing it, we transform setbacks into stepping stones. Thank you for taking the time to reflect on this message. May you embrace every failure as a lesson and continue moving forward with renewed strength and purpose. The path to success is never linear, but with each step, no matter how difficult, you are moving closer to your goals. Stay resilient, stay persistent, and most importantly, keep going. Thank you.